This is a generation, when you look at everyone that's even passed away in the last decade at least, this is a generation that never should have gotten older. It never should have passed away. If ever there was a time where reassurances had to be made, where metaphysical truths had led to some outcome, all the grand efforts in medical science, energetic pathways, musical contributions, acting contributions, a collective force, a collective cosmic force that took all of the loss and all of the death, all the struggle, and turned it into something great. We should have reached some sort of auspicious or omniscient place, but we're faced with a reality that God is a concept. To quote John Lennon, right? And that there is absolutely no proof that any such thing has ever existed. And more to the point, that the dark aspects that have existed, when men like John Dee were really searching for something good. They weren't searching to be sucked into a dark abyss in the occult. They didn't want to be besieged constantly with mathematical symbols and equations that bent their mind and distorted their idea of reality and family. It was never about personal power or stealing others' power. Everyone in their own way was trying to remedy the greater need for what we deserve. And you see life after life end in misery. And it just is not acceptable. And so, especially now, when all this bullshit about psionics is floating around and there's so many disinformation agents, so many people acting like they care and they're just following a protocol for money, for gain. They're just looking out for themselves. BP Earthwatch just put up this amazing video that the XM satellite station put up, Tears for Fears, where they were performing, and they sound just as fine-tuned, good as ever. But they're lucky if they have 10, 15 years left in their lives, right? And out of the good ones, we take it for granted, and think people are going to be around forever. The immense amount of self-care, the number of supplements, the number of choices, But people could live without them. People could live without anything or anyone. And in the end, it's all just entertainment. You'll see more people, more young people that are nihilists. There's no other choice. They're not agnostic. They're not atheist. They may not be able to spell all that well. They may not be able to entertain other people all that well. But what I do find is there's more honest people than ever. More honest than there have been in decades. Where they're actually, 19, 20-year-old kids going, why should I try? What is there for me? At this point, a big injection of perceived power or wealth doesn't assist people in this plight. And it looks like how this is going to be addressed and handled is that while everyone is going through a massive existential crisis, dying from all the COVID inoculations and shots, dying from all the low quality food choices, sources, dying from all the chemtrails, water pollution. We're being attacked from every angle. And it's not to support us, it's not to boost us up. It's an agenda. Many people have been working very covertly. They arrive at a place where they see that the greater number of parents would be abusive, would even sexually abuse their children in one way or another without having strict jurisdictional powers placed over them by really woo-woo religions that make them think that God is going to pop out from, some capricious God is going to pop out from nowhere and send them to hell. While other people believe that they were born into hell, that this is hell, that they're going to live for today, that they're going to corrupt themselves and thereby destroy their families and corrupt everyone around them because they realize they're never going to be a hero for themselves or anyone else. And you have more people questioning even Stoicism, right? And I think everyone's wrong. I think everyone's wrong. I think what we're going to see is a huge insurgence into nihilism. And then nihilism is just something that you can think about when you have sedentary calories to burn. When you live in nihilism, that's slavery. So it's the recognition that we're one step away from this submissive path, this role that we know we're being prepped up for, into outright slavery. But the problem herein lies that with AI, now they've got this these drones that are actually okayed to make food deliveries, dangling a cable, right? And retracting the cable back up, and then pretty soon that'll mean, that they can carry larger drones that, take 12, 15 deliveries out there, and that they've got these other smaller drones who can actually do the deliveries. It's going to get more efficient. Where's the people? Right? The only reason the people are needed is to have the money to deliver the food. But everybody's on meds. Everybody's in their houses. Everybody's afraid. Everyone's afraid of one another. And out of that fear, it's creating more murder. It's creating more serial killers, right? To where people are getting to this point where survival doesn't matter, and they know that no one really cares about anyone, that it's just entertainment. As long as you have the Liver King maintaining his number of subscribers, just for shits and giggles, just for entertainment, right? Where you're not evaluating on the basis of not merits, not capitalism, but principles. As long as purity is not important to people as a center axiom to where all principle comes from, and then that creates the grounding of this ethos or ethics into morality, into deeds that are prompted by virtue, right? But they tie into one central theme, and that is the pure source, the pure center. We don't have that. We don't have an idea of that. And in fact, it seems that there's a fear of this that's coming from whatever the higher up is, which is really the lower down, right? The fact that to create entropy, to intentionally create chaos, seems to be what the system's relying on. Life. So that people in their passing time could believe and feed their consciousness back into the system that there really is sort of this sedentary notion to consciousness. It's a big lie. It's what is within us, not what's downloaded into us, right? It's what is within us as we go through these cycles of reincarnation and how we act that out. You know, there's belief systems that believe that we are reincarnated over billions of years. You know, who knows? Who knows what's right? We're never going to be told the truth. Because as soon as we get to the place where we have the fortitude to demand it, we're poisoned, killed off, and muted. No longer needed. No entertainer or artist is going to be looked on in the future as anything great. Don't you realize that? And that's just one aspect of the potential future that we're going into. You won't have people that know how to do anything better. I think that time's already come. In fact, I know it, and I know that the truth is being heavily suppressed and that the technology's been around forever. And I think something that might have been looked past or anticipated heavily to the point where there was a huge blockade that was circumventing this tidal wave, this storm, where people knew what was going to happen next, right? Because it was floating around in the field around them. It was a part of the information, right? And so, just like when I was in school, I hear the same high-pitched ringing in my head that blocks me from thinking, blocks me from articulating. As soon as I try to go into any sort of intellectual thought, I have these invisible shackles around me. I've always had to think around the parameter of that high-pitched noise that just instantly, the second that I begin to say anything with any sort of clarity or think anything that's beyond just mere bitching and speculation, when you really reach this place and you do it against all odds, bing, right in your head, a big cymatic wall, a big firewall. That's where we're at. That's the truth. Nobody's talking about the true truth. You know, you hear these Christians and these Christian network stations talking about their version or their rendition of the truth, and they're capitalists. All they care about is views. Right? Let's get down to the bottom processing motivation behind everyone and everything. Because lies don't work anymore. People are up to here with lies. They can't handle the lies in themselves. They can't stand hearing lies from other people. It's just not good enough. It's not entertaining. And now workers just suck. They just suck. And so many of them suck that if you have 10% of the people that are actually taking pride in their job and really trying, right? People will say it to them, encourage them. But at the end of the night, they're not making any more tips. They're just putting out more energy. And there's no reciprocation back. There's just deadness, dead silence, dead calm. Not a good one, right? Because if this entropy producing machine requires the entropy in a thermodynamic system to just keep kicking this up, right? When you feel that sort of equilibrium hit, that homeostatic balance, you are worried. Why isn't there more noise? And you'll go back in and you'll try to do your thinking and it will still block you. And you know what's happening. You can feel it. It's still regulating you. You're still under the same grid influence, but it is now halting you from existence. You are literally being taken out of existence before you even die. Both my kids had COVID shots and I worry about them every day. And I realized, man, I kind of thought it was all in my head. I didn't have COVID shot, you know. And I never did vote for anyone. I don't think there's ever been a good politician to vote for. There's never been a reason to. Like I say, I understand this pretty well. Pretty damn well. Better than I want to know, better than I should know. But would I sacrifice what I know and choose ignorance? No, I would not. I want to know more. It's not because I want power over other people. It's because I know that as diligent as I am, and once I know more, then I know that it's active and alive within the field. And that little by little, more people will begin to know more. We're supposed to know more. The treachery of the people around us, from these Scientologists that are outright Satanists, in my opinion. And I know, you can watch my other videos if you'd like. I'm not dumb. I don't, I understand, I understand what's going on there. I'm not going to try to be a bleeding heart to everyone and just explain myself. I'm sick of explaining myself. And everyone has to. Everyone's expected to. If they want to live, they're expected to explain themselves, right? But what I predict, if I had to try and predict anything, is that China, the true population of China, and where China really is on a global front, is that it's speculated they have almost the same population as the US does. Right? And that's why they're so tight-lipped. And that most of the products are coming out of automated efforts. And that things aren't going very well in China. Right? Were they wrong not to trust anyone? So this would mean that the global population is very, quite possibly far lower than speculations have said. And the fact that most of the world remains unbanked, and that there really could be any consensus as to how many people there really are. Good luck with that. Good luck proving that. We believe in this statistical data that has never been able to even vet itself. But we take this vetting process so seriously. And then the second we start to hear these PhDs and these people with master's degrees talk, they're saying absolutely nothing. They have learned nothing. Nothing. And the caste system, the populist system, doesn't work for shit. It doesn't do a fucking thing. It keeps the stupid people in charge. The ones that need these accolades. The ones that need the praise. You can't be poor and file patents. You have to have a patent attorney. You have to have the money to keep that patent going. It takes constant effort, constant work to enforce the patents. It's really about the attorneys that you have working for you. And then they get their cushy jobs and they start stealing from you. And then you have to have attorneys watching your attorneys, watching your attorneys. And they're all going to golf together. They know just how much to steal off the top. They constantly do. And it's not just feudalism, corporate neo-feudalism. The thieves, the band of thieves has grown immensely, considerably, to the point where no one could really make it. And this is why you have factions of people banding together. So you're going to have a lot more nihilists. And you're not going to have very good slaves, very good workers as a result of that. They're not going to be strong, they're not going to be fit, and they're not going to be ready to do any kind of work. They wouldn't be able to pick up the sledgehammer. They're not woke. They're not far right. They just are. And you failed them. I failed them. Everyone failed them. People think they know where you're coming from because you have a certain number of gray hairs on your head or on your chin. They absolutely don't know. I used to have people get into the car when I would do rideshare and say, well, it's your generation that fucked everything up. You guys, it's like, you don't even know me, dude. I haven't gone along with my generation or the generation before or the generation after. I never saw myself like that. I never voted in my life, and I never would vote for any of these motherfuckers. Ever. Not when I was young. Not when I'm old. Getting older. I've always seen it. I've always wondered, how the fuck is it that this keeps going on? What is it? And it would be really nice to turn toward a Conrad Zuse or a Alan Turing computational system. That would take the load off. Then you just have to, update the firmware, right? And that's the next lie. Right? And people will pass away, they'll die, waiting for this. They don't matter. The people that think up the ideas don't matter. It's the Edisons, it's the Elon Musks of this world that use NLP on everyone and capitalize on everybody and have their own short-sighted agenda, and they're being downloaded. They're being told what to do. He's nothing but a puppet. He's an arrogant puppet. He sounds more pompous and more arrogant as time goes by. But everyone's a sellout, and as long as the stock goes up, as long as there's like stock splits and everybody follows along with that. They don't mind taking the energy sucking the energy dry out of the world in order to get what they want, even if they only lived for one day. They'd rather live like kings, and it's all about feeling. They want to feel like they have some supremacy. They want to feel like they're winning. It's that whole tribal war between these two nearly identical tribes in New Guinea, 1964. Got millions of views. And it just shows the docile and the asinine nature of it. That you're not talking about these Ubermensch, these super warriors. You're talking about these feminine men with very small phalluses running around and throwing arrows at one another, but barely even running or walking. And every now and then someone gets killed. Everything's primitive. And that's how people think. That is the base reality that people think from, even now. Just because you have more hardware, just because there's more techne, more art, right? Welcome to the world of machine, right? Makana, right? Makana. Welcome to that world. Because it hasn't turned out very good.